dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Morning. Mr. Anderson, I'm seeing we're having trouble streaming your destination.
Yeah, I just noticed that.
Okay.
I was going to tell you I'm having trouble here too with my computer. I don't know. That's a Rumble link. So
It says edit. Did you try that? Well, while you're looking that over, hopefully some of you can hear us.
Well, we got YouTube. You got YouTube and that other one on our Minuteman page.
Yep. Great program again for you today, folks. 2 interviews. David Moerschel with in the first hour. David is a J6er, has not been pardoned yet. And we talk about his current status and what he's doing to try to change things. And then in the second hour, Fight Like Hell. Heather Hill, Republican gubernatorial candidate here in Ohio for the May primary. Very interesting young lady. I think you'll hear a lot of the things that she's going to say. Folks, America has a math problem. We are so divided. It's just absolutely incredible. I mean, it's, but when Artemis, which came back recently from around the moon, and I'm going to make the assumptive that did happen, folks.
What?
Go ahead.
No, I don't know.
One of the reasons that I'm saying that is, if they didn't, we're calling a Christian a liar, because there was a Christian that was on that.
Well, that's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah, it is what he said. So are we calling that Christian a liar? How do we know? How do we know that it did not? We're making the assumption that it didn't happen. And here we go again. America is in a critical position. And by critical, I mean, all we know how to do is criticize. Both sides saying this section of Americans are bad people, don't deserve to live in this nation. And then on the other hand, we have a group of people that saying these are bad people. Both sides don't deserve to live in this nation, are stupid. And let me show you how. What good is that doing our nation? Seriously. If you see a problem, folks, fix the dang thing, okay? And fixing it isn't complaining about it. And if you don't know, hearsay, and it could be divisive, why are you doing it? Seriously, why are you doing it? You're doing as much as George Soros in terms of tearing this nation down. I'm in a good mood this morning. I am.
Happy Saturday.
The entire Artemis mission embodied uniquely American optimism, hopefulness, wonder at the created order, and pride in American excellence and being able to pull it off. Space exploration has long been one of the clearest arenas in which American leadership manifests itself. At the height of the Cold War, NASA's Apollo program had a loftier mission than merely beating the... I hear you out there. You don't know that this didn't happen. You don't know that. Stop it. How do you know it's true? Either way, how do you know it's true? Again, I'm in a good mood. Artemis 2 carries forward the legacy in a new geopolitical context in which rivals like China are racing to assert dominance on land, air, sea, and beyond. Artemis 2 mission and the individuals who carried it off offer a powerful counter narrative to the dour pessimism, wokeism, and rampant atheism of our age. What is it Barack Obama said? We're no longer a Christian nation. Well, I don't agree with a lot of things that he says, but I certainly agree with that. Oh yeah, we have churchgoers. What was the showing on Fox News this morning as I was passing by the TV? I think they were talking about 48% of couples are living together but not married. I don't know what the child situation is. But here in Ohio, 48% of children don't live with their biological mother and father. That's for real. Okay, that we know. So what are you going to do about it? They were talking about, gosh, we need to get married and have a family. Charlie Kirk really pressed that issue. Folks, the family is the key. If it goes down, we're history. We're history. Mothers, fathers, children, they have a special meaning in our lives. That's what we ought to be focusing on. This is a mission, Artemis, that embodies the best of America, technological prowess, individual excellence, and a willingness to venture into the unknown to do big, bold, and beautiful things. It's a story that has united Americans of all political, religious, racial, and ethnic stripes, unity. In short, Artemis 2 is a feel-good story. It is a feel-good story. Not on yet? Yep. We're still not on Rumble, Mr. Anderson. I know he's trying to get us back on.
Are we on YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Why are we not on Rumble?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Thanks. That was our stage director, Mrs. J. Folks, take this and use it to unify America and stop picking. Listen, there is nobody on this planet Earth that can be negative than yours truly. I grew up believing behind every rainbow there's a cloud. And now I'm living in a world with a bunch of BJs. Cloud, 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 cloud. Yeah, people talk about the weather. Talk about the political climate. We have to do something to change this. We have to find something we like about those people that we're living in the neighborhood with, in the city with, in the nation with. And there are things. Artemis is a good example of that. And you prove to me that they have not been to the moon, have not been around the moon. And it is best that we believe in that and start there in terms of unifying. We've got some technological advances, folks. And I'm saying use those for our own benefits. A little late on this. You're about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio, where you can see the difference. We're not doctors, lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, or engine chiefs. Or do either of us hold a doctorate degree in anything? Not that that would make any difference. Our opinion, of course. We only ask that you as an individual and or corporately not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal, nor do we recommend that you act on them as if they are facts, although they might very well be just that. Facts. Don't know till you research it. But again, that's our opinion. You're not required to listen to, act on, or repeat anything that you hear today. And that any information or opinion we present is meant for the good of the order and by no means intended to harm or threaten anyone. As goes the family, so goes the church. As goes the church, so goes the nation. Our first guest today, and we'll get to him shortly, is David Moerschel. And David was one of those patriots that went to Washington, D.C. on January 6th to redress his grievances, to support other people, and fell into a trap that was set by whoever. I don't know who it was set by, but it was set. Thousands of people, thousands of families were negatively impacted by this event. And this month, there is talk of giving full pardons. I think there was 12 or 14, 12. My little postcard back there that still have not received pardons. And we're going to find out from one of those individuals this morning what that looks like, what the president's talking about, how real that is or could be or isn't. I'm looking forward to talking again to David. David's a good man. A very good man. I don't know, Mr. Anderson, should we take this down and start all over again to try to get it to run? Because I see we're still not on Rumble. And I can't get to anything else. Oop. Public title, orientation. Yeah, you with me? You with me?
I'm working on it. So just keep going. We are on YouTube. I gotta change some settings in Rumble. It'll take me a few minutes. I hope. I'm working on it.
All righty. I'll take us to break, and then we'll try to bring on David if we can get him in.
Is he there?
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Everything seems to be under attack these days. I mentioned David Moerschel. David, come on down, brother. How you doing this morning?
Good. How are you, sir?
Fine. You are now in the great state of
South Dakota.
And you moved
way
there.
America used to be.
Yeah. Okay. And you moved there from South Florida, so
Yeah.
I guess you're still in that sunshine state.
It's sunny right now.
Ah.
I had to shut the blinds. So
I love it.
yeah, but there's a little snow on the ground too. So, it's mid-April.
David, just quickly briefly go over what put you in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. General overview so folks know where you're coming from and what your situation or why your situation is what it is.
Yeah. Well, thanks, BJ. So, I'm a medical professional. So, I actually work in the operating room with neurosurgeons and spinal surgeons. And I joined the Oath Keepers about 19 days before January 6th. And when they found out that I was in the medical field, they were very excited. They really wanted me to go because they already had a medical response team. They had an emergency room physician. I am not a physician. I'm a neurophysiologist. But they had an emergency room physician that was already going to be on the ground there. And they figured that they would probably need help. Now, BJ, that was prescient, wasn't it? Because, of all the injuries. So when we got there, on January 6th, we were walking from the Ellipse, from Trump's rally at the Ellipse towards the Capitol. Now, the Oath Keepers were going to be doing security for 2 permitted events on or near the grounds of the Capitol. So we had a valid reason to be going to the Capitol for permitted events.
Go ahead.
Right. So as we're walking there, we're hearing like booming, like explosions in the background. And we're like, what in the world is going on? I mean, it sounds like a war zone. And then we hear from the emergency room physician, and he says, hey, I've been treating all these people. I need help. I need backup. So we were escorting the family of a congressman from the Ellipse to the Capitol. And suddenly our mission became to help the Oath Keeper medic in treating these people. So they I'm not a security guy. I don't have military law enforcement. So, but I'm the medical guy. So when they hear this, they look at me and they're like, okay, David, you're up. So I'm going there, and we walk into, and the prosecutors made a big deal out of this. They said, David ran to the riot. Like, yeah, that was the brave thing to do. I was in need. Like, I carry a pager, not literally, but like I'm on call. I'm on trauma call. So if somebody gets in a bad car accident, falls through the roof, falls off a roof, something like that, guess what? I get the phone call. So this is not unusual for me to be called into some sort of chaotic scene. So when they said, hey, David, you're up, you got to go, that I was like, yeah, well, this is normal. So yeah, we went towards the riot. We went towards where we were needed to help people. So we go over there, and that's and that's where the whole scene was. Now, we weren't on the scaffolding side, where some really crazy stuff took place. I don't know what happened over there. We were on the other side, and when I arrived there, BJ, there were people covering the stairs and singing the national anthem. Now, I've never been to a riot before, and maybe you have, but you can tell me, does that look like a riot? A bunch of people singing the national anthem? That's not a riot. No alarm bells went off in my head like, hey, you need to like turn around and leave. So then we walk up the stairs because we think, hey, the Oath Keeper medic is at the top of the stairs near the doorway. So we go up the stairs. That's where you have the famous, where we have our hands on each other's backs and we're kind of climbing the stairway. And that's the military formation that they said, which by the way, if that's the case, then all kindergartners have a military formation as they hold each other's backs when they go out to recess. So this is nothing. I'm not military. In fact, most of the people in that line were not military. So, and nor did we practice. So it's just completely false news, fake news. We were going up there to help the medic. And that's when, as you can see on the video, we're up there for a little while. And then all of a sudden, somebody yells push from the back. Now, we now know that there were 274 agents FBI agents in the crowd doing crowd control. And I would say that, yeah, they were doing crowd control.
Yeah.
We're controlling the crowd by pushing us in. Maybe it was the FBI that was in the back yelling push. Well, we will never know. Trump ordered an investigation, and Kash Patel said, no, I'm not going to investigate. On this very same day that Trump orders an investigation, Kash Patel says they were doing crowd control. Well, how do you know? You didn't bother to investigate, did you? So we'll never know exactly what they were doing. But I would say, hey, the burden of proof is on you, FBI. You prove that you were not in the back pushing me in. So then I get pushed in, and 11 minutes later, I walk out of my own volition, never encountered a police officer. Oh, and I think I sent you the clip. Some senator, some Democrat senator said, they were fighting with police officers. Why are they going to try to set these people free? Well, there's no video evidence. We never encountered a police officer. We never tear gassed. There was no riotous scene going on. You can watch the video at pardonthefourteen.com. if you click the link on the case, you can watch the video of me in the Capitol. It looks like a chaotic day at the museum. So that's a little bit of the story about how we got here.
Okay. Did you ever treat anybody?
I didn't. No.
Couldn't get to them?
We never did find the Oath Keeper medic. And after now look, if you watch the video, it was there was like hundreds of people on the little landing up there. So we never found the Oath Keeper medic. Now, for example, Jessica Watkins can be seen on video helping wounded people. Jeremy Brown can be seen on video helping people. This is all on my website, also at stophate.com. They have a whole section on how the Oath Keepers were helping people on that day. So, it's all fake news that we were there to disrupt the election or to commit seditious conspiracy or something like that.
Okay. So you leave.
Yeah. So we leave, and what's funny is, so while we were in there, okay, so we were in the Great Rotunda, and all this is on video. You can watch this on the video again at pardon14.com. We're in the Great Rotunda, and then Kenneth Harrelson sort of walks over briefly into the Small House Rotunda, and he's like, he sees that there Harry Dunn, the grave officer Harry Dunn, the published author Harry Dunn, failed bid for Congress Harry Dunn. He's in there, like he's got his AR-15. He's got his finger on the trigger. He's yelling at protesters. Now there was a little bit of altercation between some protesters and Harry Dunn, and this is also on the video. And so Kenneth Harrelson sees this, and he comes back to the group. He says, "Hey, there's an altercation going on. I'm afraid it's going to escalate, and so let's go in there and try to de-escalate the situation." So the group kind of moves into the Small House Rotunda, and it's on video. You can see it. And in fact, in Harry Dunn's first interview with the FBI, he admits that the Oath Keepers helped him to de-escalate the situation. So we're in there, and you can see Kenneth Harrelson and Kelly Meggs. They're interposing themselves between the Harry Dunn and the protesters. Now, I observe all this with my own eyes. I'm watching it. It's also on video. And so they're de-escalating the situation. And so then, the situation is diffused. Me and Joseph Hackett, we end up leaving because it was over. He and I leave the Capitol of our own volition. Nobody tells us to leave. There's no police officers there escorting people out. We're just like, hey, after 11 minutes, we're like, hey, we're done. We want out. So, in fact, Joseph Hackett comes up to me and he says, "David, how comfortable are you?" And I says, "I'm very uncomfortable." And he says, "Okay, let's get out of here." I said, "Okay, let's go." So we walk out. You can see us walking out. Again, nobody's forcing us to leave. So we walk out. A few minutes later, the rest of the Oath Keepers come out. And as they're leaving, Kelly Meggs turns to his wife, Connie, and says, "Hey, we're going to be heroes. They're going to give us a medal for they're just thinking we did this great thing by preventing this, this sort of altercation from escalating into violence, right? So they think they're going to be heroes for helping Harry Dunn out. Well, little did they know, in 2 months' time, they would both be put in the gulag, put in prison, and they would have their children taken away from them, the whole 9 yards. They were both in prison. Kelly Meggs was put in solitary confinement in the gulag. Connie Meggs had similar treatment. So, it just all went downhill from there. So then that's when the prosecutors were trying to tie the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys to Trump. And they really wanted to get Trump on insurrection. That's why from the very beginning, the news was pushing the narrative of insurrection, because they wanted to tie that word to Trump so that they could keep him from running. And then they were trying to tie the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys to Trump to say that Trump told us to do it, that Trump made us do it. They were pressuring all of us to try to take a plea deal and sign a statement of facts that implicated Trump, implicated the MAGA movement. They went as far as to threaten me, the other Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, with life imprisonment to force us to take a plea deal. Some of the Oath Keepers, some of the Proud Boys did plead out, but myself and 14 other Oath Keepers and Proud Boys would not give in. We would not betray Trump. We would not betray the MAGA movement. We went to trial. The Oath Keepers were on trial for around 2 months. The Proud Boys were on trial for 4 months. our trials, my trial, and the Proud Boy trial overlapped there a little bit. So we all go to prison now, right? So Enrique Tarrio, he's sentenced to over 20 years in prison. Stuart Rhodes, he is sentenced to 18 years in prison. I mean, these huge sentences for these guys, convicted of seditious conspiracy. I was convicted of seditious conspiracy. And then, we get Trump elected, right? And then on January 20th, me and Joseph Hackett were in the halfway house together. And we're like, okay, neither of us had committed any violence. And that seemed to be the matrix that both J.D. Vance and Trump were using for whether you were going to be pardoned or not. If you were violent, you might not get pardoned. If you were not violent, you would get pardoned. So none of the Oath Keepers were accused of violence. Okay, this is going to be important when you show the video or the clip of the senator who accused us of violence. We were not. We did no violence. So we thought January 20th we're going to be set free. We're going to be pardoned. And then when the pardon proclamation was actually issued, I looked at it. Somebody sent it to me. I looked at it, and there's my name. And I'm like, oh, that can't be good. There's only like 14 people who are listed. And so I read it carefully, and I'm like, oh, no, we were commuted. We didn't get the pardon. Everybody else got the pardon but us. And so, Joseph Hackett, about the same time, he got it. So we kind of met in the hallway, and he's like, what's going on? I said, dude, we were not pardoned. We were commuted. This is very bad. And I was up the whole night. My wife was up the whole night. We just couldn't believe it. We just thought, does Trump really think we did it? Does Trump really think we committed sedition? And so, this has been our battle for ever since January 20th, 2025. We've been fighting this. And, we developed pardonthefourteen.com. We've been going around. Now we have over 1,000 pardon letters specifically regarding me. And then we have pardon postcards, thousands of pardon postcards that people filled out and sent to Trump at the White House. So we've been really pushing this to get this, to get the pardon. And now, BJ, we have finally come down. It looks like we're going to get some relief.
Trying to get my postcard out here.
Oh, okay. There you go. There's the postcard. Yep. So now it looks like we're finally going to get some relief. Okay.
Now I've got a dozen, not
Great.
14, but I've got a dozen. Hey, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, now what? We've been convicted. We've been commuted, but we haven't been pardoned. But what difference does that make anyway, right? BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call. Guest David Moerschel.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
And we are back. David, what difference does it make anyway? Right? Does that sound familiar? What difference does it make anyway?
Yeah. Difference between the commutation and the pardon?
Yes, sir.
So the commutation is a get out of jail card. It does not restore your rights. You are still every bit of a felon. It puts you in a very precarious situation. For example, people have been rearrested on gun charges for simply being in a house, being a guest in a house where there was a firearm. So it puts you in a very precarious situation legally when you are still a felon. And of course, we're not just a normal felon, normal felon as if there is one, right? But a seditious conspiracy. This is tantamount to treason, which is how they justified threatening us with life imprisonment. They said, hey, sedition is tantamount to treason. Treason is like you get hung, right? They hang people for treason. And then right under that is seditious conspiracy. So this is a huge crime. This is a huge thing to be accused of, and to not have that pardoned. And not only that, but to be singled out singled out of almost 2,000 people for commutation, well, then that makes it look like Trump thinks, hey, you might have actually done it. And in fact, Jamie Raskin used this against us when the Republicans were putting on their own January 6th hearing, and they were talking about Brian Cole, the alleged pipe bomber, which, spoiler alert, it wasn't him, okay? The defense has evidence that he was in some other part of the town. They've got Jocelyn Ballantyne on that case, who was involved in our case, the Oath Keeper case, the Proud Boy case, and there was so much corruption in that. And she seems to be at the head. She seems to be involved in all of these cases where there's prosecutorial corruption, crimes, so forth. Anyway, I could go on. But so when they
David,
were
what does this mean? What does this mean for you vocational wise? And by the way,
yeah,
you're experiencing discrimination, aren't you? Because
absolutely.
of the accusations.
Yeah, I'm still being debanked. I had I was trying to get a brokerage account, 2 different brokerages. They first accepted my application. In fact, one of them called me and said, "Hey, we're glad to have you on board," because I'm a day trader. Before all this happened, I was a day trader, fairly successful at day trading. And so, they could see my record or whatever, and they were like, "Hey, we're glad to have you on board." And then a week later, they said, "After an internal review, we've decided not to continue this account." Happened again with Charles Schwab. They did the same thing to me. So yeah, and then the IRS, my paltry little return from 2025 or something like that. We had just so little money that we actually earned in 2025. They selected it for an audit. So the government owed us money, and then they selected our little paltry amount for an audit. I mean, give me a break here, people. And then we fought them for almost a year. I had to get a congressional inquiry just to get the IRS to tell me what was wrong, what they thought was wrong with the application. I had to get a congressman involved. And then it took months. It took almost a year for me to actually get the return, get the money that the government, was supposed to give us as a refund. So yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely being targeted. So right before Trump issued the pardon proclamation, I was interviewing with 2 different medical companies, because remember, I thought, hey, I'm going to get the pardon. So I had 2 different medical companies, and they were ready to hire me. It was contingent on the pardon. Okay. So within 2 weeks of receiving the commutation, both companies came back and said, "I'm sorry, we're no longer considering you for this position." So, I mean, this has been a nightmare situation for us. And especially, watch the video, I didn't do it. And so, this has been going on for like 5 years. And so that's where we're at.
That's it's hard to imagine the average American. We're living in that Uber world where we really don't have to give much effort to get anything. And when somebody like you, what you're talking about, they don't understand, David, exactly what you're talking about. You were a very successful employee, and you've got a great background, but because of accusations and because of a justice system, I say all the time that we are an unjust and amoral nation. And if I'm right, and what David talking about, it fits right in line with what we're talking about. So are you living in Florida at this time?
No, we're in South Dakota.
No. When all this happened.
Oh, when this takes place, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after the commutation, how did you end up in South Dakota?
I did find a medical company that was patriotic, and they have a religious basis. So they're, they would be considered a religious basis, moral company, upright company, smaller company that was willing to hire me. In fact, when I applied with them, now on my application, when I reached out to them, the very first paragraph was, "Guess what? I'm trying to recover after this persecution. So I didn't hide anything about January 6th. It was in the first paragraph. Like, hi, my name's David. I'm a recovering January 6th defendant, right? So anyway, so they're like, I talked to them on the phone. They're like, no, this is a bonus for us. Like this puts you at the top of the stack for us. So, it's a good company. I'm making about 20% less than what I was making before, but at least I can pay my bills now. We went 4 years. In fact, while I was a prisoner for almost 2 years, we had no earned income for almost 2 years. It was patriots like you that gave, that donated while I was a prisoner in prison, shivering. And I worked full time when I was in prison. I sent my wife all my money, but you know how much they paid me when I was in prison? When I started at Unicor, which is like, the t-shirt factory, the literal sweat factory, right? They paid me 12 cents an hour. 12 cents an hour. My first paycheck was $16. I worked full time. I sent it to my wife. Why? Because that's what a man does. A man, it was everything. I gave her everything. And so, I sent all the money home to her, even though it wasn't much. But, it was patriots who stood in the gap, who helped us out to be able to even pay the bills. But now I'm able to pay the bills. Thank the Lord. I had to make this huge move out west. We like it out here. There's people like us here. They homeschool their children. They believe in God. They fear God. They love God. They love each other. So this is a great place. I mean, literally, people walk around with the shirt that says, South Dakota is the way America used to be. So I encourage all of you, hey, come, let's colonize over here. Let's make South Dakota great again.
I like that. I like that. How much difference would a pardon make in the lives of the 12 folks that we're talking about? What is different, black and white? What is the difference between where you are now with a commutation and where you would be with a pardon? Right.
So the big difference for me is that I would have my rights restored. So I'd very much like to vote in an election. I'd very much like to have the FBI off my back. I'd like to very much be able to get a bank account or some brokerage account or something like that. So these are the kinds of things that having a pardon would help me. And now some of the 12 who still have not had the pardon or had our records cleared yet, they are former military, so they're being denied their benefits. In fact, some of the guys got nasty grams from the VA saying, you got to pay back the benefits that we gave you. So, they're being denied the ability to be buried in the cemetery, in the VA cemetery, stuff like that. So they're being denied all this stuff on top of the other persecution and the residual sort of suspicion that we're under. Because remember, there was, I go around and speak at different Republican clubs. I'm very happy to speak at different Republican clubs. And I had some of those postcards, and I had some of the letters, the pardon request letters. And there was a woman there, a Republican woman, and I said, hey, would you sign one of these things? And she says, no. She says, because I think you must have done something for Trump not to pardon you. See, so there's this suspicion, like, well, why didn't Trump pardon you? Like, is there really something to this? So, I mean, if Republicans are that way, then, even the Democrats are like that. Like I mentioned earlier, how Jamie Raskin was using the fact that we were not pardoned as evidence that we actually did commit sedition. So this is very dangerous ground. Like Trump needs to resolve this. This has to be resolved.
Yeah, unfortunately, Donald Trump's the one going to have to do this, and because he did it, anything he does is wrong. Anything and everything he does is wrong. So you're going to have to face that with at least one side of the equation. David, I'm the family guy. Okay. How many children do you have?
We got 3 little ones.
Okay. And you were without them for how long?
I was in federal custody for 2 years. I was a prisoner in prison for 9 months, prisoner at a halfway house for 9 months, something like that.
Okay. Effects on the family. We could talk about the children. We could talk about your relationship with your wife. And if this gets too personal, just say, hey, Jim, get out of here. I don't want any part of that. So, but listen, come on. This Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, okay? Women are very security oriented. And you have a gentleman that's making a very good living, providing for his family, and then that shuts down for 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
That has to have an effect on your relationship with your wife. I'm sensing that you've made lemonade out of the lemon, David.
Well, my wife and I are both 100% committed followers of Jesus Christ. That makes all the difference. My wife is seminary trained. I am seminary trained. Not that that's means much in and of itself, but it goes to show our commitment to the Lord. We were in the ministry together for 10 years, doing evangelistic and missionary work. So that is what kept us together, was our shared faith and belief. And we had the Lord, since we were close with the Lord. We are close with the Lord. We had the Lord whispering in our ears through the Spirit that this was all going to turn out okay. Just hang in there. We had the comfort of the Spirit telling us that this is going to be okay. Just hang in there. And that's what we did. We both listened to the Spirit. We stayed committed to each other throughout this. I don't think Joe would mind me saying, Joseph Hackett, who's a co-defendant, he's an oath keeper. We were on trial together for 6 weeks in Washington, D.C. We were also at the prisoners at the halfway house together. Joseph Hackett lost his family over this. Now, not trying to say anything about their faith, but Joe lost his chiropractic. He had a chiropractic business. He lost his license. His family, his wife had to move in with their sister. They had to rent out their house. They had to leave their house. I mean, his daughter was traumatized because the FBI held a gun in her face, broke into her bedroom and held a gun in her face. For this, if you met Joseph Hackett, he's the most mild-mannered. He's a mild-mannered chiropractor. I mean, he's just a good guy, right? And so it just shows how unintelligent the intelligence organizations are to go and do a pre-dawn raid of this guy's house. It's not dangerous. Neither is his 12-year-old daughter. I mean, come on, he's so stupid. Anyway, so he lost his family, but by the grace of God, we came through this. It's very hard for the children to understand how a government can be weaponized against your father. The children woke up in the morning after I was taken prisoner. They woke up in the morning and said, "Where's Daddy?" Try answering that question. Where's Daddy? Well, they took him. So, we had this very, very difficult time. And, my children, they've come through it on the other side. Their eyes are wide open. They're barely 10 years old. Our oldest one is barely 10 years old. Her eyes are wide open. She sees, hey, but BJ, you're a Christian man. They've been doing this to Christians since the word go. So, anyway, so I see we got a break coming up, but even Jesus and Jesus's followers were accused of sedition. So what they did to me is only following in the footsteps of what they did to our great Lord and Savior Jesus.
Yeah, it seems to be, well, I'll call it the nature of man, is not necessarily to do the right thing. You don't have to teach children to be bad, right? It kind of comes natural to them. Anyway, I think I'm going to let Mr. Anderson in and maybe Norm in. He might have a comment or two. Can you take us to break, Mr. Anderson?
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we're back. Did you have a video, Mr. Anderson, that we were going to play for David? And I'm going to bring Norm in while we're waiting for that. Norm?
Well, God bless you, David. You remind me that I don't have any problems, okay? I don't have anything to complain about. I do have a question about the pardon. or I guess two questions. Are you saying the pardon wipes out your record?
Well, we've had a major development. I didn't know, BJ, when you wanted to bring this up, but we had a major development on Tuesday. So my attorney, my appeals attorney, Chad Pennington, great guy. Really appreciate him. He's done a great work for me. Chad emailed me. He said, David, call me ASAP, like as soon as possible. I'm like, oh no. I panicked because I thought, oh, I mean, these guys are capable of anything. Honestly, they're capable of anything. I truly thought they're adding a charge. They're going to arrest me again. I couldn't see why he would be panicked because we just talked, like he and I just talked maybe a few days prior to that. And so I knew what was going on. There was no reason for him to call me. Everything was, I knew what was going on. Everything was, status quo. And then he panic emails me. My heart's pumping. I call him on the phone. I'm like, oh man, what is going on? And and then he says, David, the Department of Justice has motioned to vacate your convictions. So what that means is what the Justice Department did was they filed a motion with the court to basically say to vacate, to get rid of the indictment, that I would be completely free. It would be as if it never happened. Even better than a pardon.
Yeah.
A pardon leaves the convictions intact, right? It just gives you forgiveness and restoration of rights. This vacating of our convictions, it erases everything. It's like we won on the appeal, right? So it means it all goes away. Like I wouldn't even have the felonies on my background. I'd go through a background check and it would be crystal clear because I've never been convicted of a crime, never been accused of a crime, before I was falsely accused on January 6th. So this just occurred on Tuesday, and the MAGA crowd is celebrating. I mean, there's tons of articles, tons of videos, people going on shows like Stuart Rhodes and Enrique Tarrio and Biggs and all these guys going on shows, just celebrating. Everybody's so happy. Of course, the liberals are losing their mind. And that was what I sent you guys, some of the videos of the liberals just, flat out lying about what we did. I mentioned earlier, there was Senator Van Tillen or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Said that we broke windows and we've assaulted officers and Trump is letting us out and he shouldn't do this and all that. And Kenneth Harrelson's attorney fired back and was like, hey, what you are saying, this is Kenneth Harrelson's attorney, fires back at the senator. Hey, what you're saying is purposefully defamatory. I am requiring you to retract this, issue an apology immediately, or we're going to sue you for defamation. So, I mean, we are literally taking names right now when it comes to this. So this is a great development. Now, they just filed the motion on Tuesday, between Tuesday and Wednesday. They filed the motion. It still has to go through the court system, but it's been a major development in justice for the remaining 12 that need the pardon.
What courts does it go through?
I'm not entirely sure. So I'll tell you what I think, and what I think has to happen based on what I've read. I may be wrong, so somebody who knows, please correct me. So the Department of Justice, so it's at the appeals level right now. So I think the way that was explained, that they told the appeals court that they want to vacate this conviction. So then and asked the appeals court to remand it, which is legal, to send it back to the DC District Court of DC for dismissal. So it's got a couple of steps to go. Chad, my appeals attorney, thought it could be a matter of days or a matter of weeks before this works its way through. It just depends on how much trouble these DC judges want to give us. Now, in case you're like, well, they wouldn't give you any trouble. Oh yeah? Oh, yeah? Well, guess what? Because guess what they did to Michael Flynn? The Department of Justice did the very same thing for Michael Flynn after, he had pled guilty or whatever. The Department of Justice went through the same process to vacate the conviction. And guess what the appeals judges said? No, we're not going to. Now, they held it up for, you guys probably remember this. I can't remember what year it was, but you probably remember this, that they held it up for a month or more. They duked it out. And then I think finally it went through where that plea deal conviction was vacated, was overturned. So I don't know what kind of legal battle we're in for as we do this. I know in the social sphere, they're already attacking me again, accusing me of hitting officers. Never happened. Never even accused of it. Of doing violence or breaking stuff. Never happened. Never even accused of breaking. Oh well, no, they said that they said I used my body like a battering ram on the door. The only problem is I was 30 feet away from the door, and the door was clearly opened when I went through it and never touched the door. And it was all on video, and the DC jury didn't even convict me of that. Like they said, no, David didn't do that. So, I went off on 2 of the 6 charges of tampering with evidence. The DC jury said, no, David didn't tamper with evidence, and breaking, destruction of government property. The DC jury said, no, David didn't do that. So, they got me on everything else. So don't worry. 4 other serious convictions. But anyway, so I don't know what kind of battle is in front of us, but this is a huge breakthrough. It's a huge win for MAGA. It's something that has been needed to be done. And, already I'm starting to feel a tiny bit of relief here from what we have been suffering these last 5 years.
Well, I can assure you it's going to be a battle, okay? Because it's a spiritual battle, and I'm going to urge all of us on the show here to be praying about this and praying for these judges. So if this goes through, or I'm going to say it different, when this goes through and you fill out an application for something, then you don't have to talk about any of that, and it won't show up.
No, it's not there. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Never
Yeah.
existed.
That's what we'll be praying for, David. God
Thank
bless
you.
you, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Norm.
Yeah,
And again,
because
if
of what
I think I've got in troubles, I'm going to think about you.
yeah. You know what? Well, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them from them all. And then another one that, he says, the scripture says, he who has been afflicted has ceased from sin. Right. So there's something purifying about the trials that we go through. So, not that we should invite it. Right. It's kind of a calling from the Lord, actually. We had different spirit-filled people speaking to us as we were going through this, like, hey, this is actually an honor that David would have to go through this. And because, it's almost a calling. Now, Norm, do not ask for this. OK,
It's kind of like praying for patience.
Yeah, do not ask for it. But really, you look at the Apostle Peter. When Peter was arrested, Peter and James, remember they killed James with the sword, right? They arrested Peter. They were planning to kill Peter as well. And when John Calvin, the theologian of the Reformation, commented on that passage, he actually said that it was because of sedition that Peter and James were arrested, right? So James put to death, James arrested and put to death, Peter arrested, saved by the Lord from death because of sedition. Jesus had a placard hung over his cross. Do you remember what that said? Here is the King of the Jews. How much more seditious can you get than claiming to be the king? They already had a king in there. They already had a king in Judea, a Rome-appointed king, right? So that's seditious. Oh, and by the way, remember Jesus had one of his followers was, what was his name? Who was, he was part of a resistance force, a Jewish resistance force. He was the zealot, Simon the Zealot, right? So he already had a zealot on his team. How seditious does that look? Like Jesus is inviting this guy who was part of a group that was trying to oppose Rome and overthrow Rome. That's seditious. So this whole thing, the whole context in which Jesus was operating was steeped in this suspicion of sedition. And then the Apostle Paul, when the Apostle Paul talks about his own convictions in Acts chapter 24. Now, if you read it in the Greek and you read it in the English, it doesn't come out as much. But if you look at the Latin Vulgate, when Jerome translated the Greek into Latin, he actually uses the word. This is Acts chapter 24 in the Vulgate. He uses the word seditionis when describing Paul's accusations. You don't have to go far to figure out what seditionis means in Latin, right? It forms our root word for sedition. So that Paul, when describing his own accusations, describes it as sedition. So there's this long history of people being accused, Christians being accused of sedition. And should I say that I'm grateful to the Lord to be a part of this history of being accused of sedition? Maybe now that we're on the other side of it, but the Lord has done some great work in our lives through this, and I don't think that we should, when it happens to us, when hard times happen to us as Christians, that we should embrace it and try to find the godly way out of it.
Well,
David,
kind of discourage Joel. He also said he would restore the locust-eaten years, so we'll be praying for that too.
Yeah, I got a BJ-ism, and then I think we have a 2-minute warning. We're going to have to go to break. David, Moerschel, God bless you. God bless your family.
Thank you.
You're a great leader. You're a great leader. You were talking about this earlier, and this is my BJ-ism. When BJ wins, he doesn't learn a whole lot. But when I lose, I learn a lot. And that's kind of human nature. So don't make the best out of it. Okay. Don't ask for it, but make the best out of it, because it is coming. Yeah. It's going to come. David, anything, got 1 minute, anything you want to leave the audience with, sir?
Just keep praying for us. I do not know what we're going to face the next month, the next 2 months. I don't know how these people, these guys invent ways to hurt people.
They're not done playing with you. They are not done playing with you.
So just keep praying for us. We're not there. This was a big step, but people are acting like, oh, it's over. No, it's not over. The big battle has just begun.
Be in prayer. Be in prayer. Mr. Anderson, we have a 2-minute warning to go to, sir.
McDonald's.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. I have your DoorDash order for you, Mr. President.
That's very nice. Look at this. This doesn't look staged, does it?
They're all your favorites.
That's good. These are good. DoorDash is doing a good job. So, the reason for this is the fact that I heard you picked up an extra $11,000 that you didn't get because the tax bill was so big. The refund was the biggest you've ever had. Is that a correct statement?
It definitely was. Yeah, I saved over $11,000 by not having to claim.
Was that surprising to you?
It was very surprising. Very
A
surprising.
great big beautiful bill. And that doesn't include overtime in your case. This is only just based on what we did in terms of every other aspect of the tax bill, right?
Yes, sir.
So it was 11,000 saving.
Yes,
Isn't
sir.
that incredible? And that's what it is. The tax cut, it's really, we call it the great big beautiful bill. We should call it the great big beautiful tax cut bill because it's tremendous amounts of money. And that's overtime. That's also on Social Security, as you know.
Yes.
And it's pretty amazing.
Yes, it
And
is.
you're really nice. Would you like to do a little news conference with me with these people? These are not the nicest people. They're not nice like you. You know that, right?
I'll do whatever you ask me to do, sir.
So there's no tax on tips or something special, right?
It's very special.
And that's one that really pertains to you more than anything else.
Yes, sir.
It's fantastic. It's such an honor to meet you. And I think you voted for me, did you?
Maybe.
Yeah. I heard you're a great supporter. We appreciate it. I'll put this over here. And why don't we have a news conference with the press? Want to do it?
Sure.
You don't have to say too much. I think they're looking about hormone straight and various other things. Do you have any questions?
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and it had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. and only the fake news.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
If you happen to get on Rumble with us today, please hit the follow button, folks. Please hit it. It's very, very important. Tennessee, by the way, just passed a nuclear family month. And I can tell you that the natives are going crazy in Tennessee. I'm going to try to get our good friend Lakey Derrick on and talk about that. A good job for them. Didn't say natural, said nuclear, but I think they're defining that as the natural family. Our guest today in the second hour is Heather Hill. And I met Heather, talked to her probably 6 months ago, maybe a year ago. I think it goes back that far. Anyway, she's a Republican entrepreneur, former school board member from Ohio, who's running for governor in the 2026 May primary. She's a conservative, pro-life, military mom, foster parent, Republic businesswoman that loves God, family, and country. Heather Hill, welcome to Last Call.
Hello, how are you doing this morning?
Keeping busy. I think we lost you
Yes.
there for a second.
Yeah, I apologize. My internet is horrible, so you may not be able to see me, but hopefully you can hear me pretty good.
Okay. So we can't bring her on the screen, Mr. Anderson?
When I turn on my camera, I apologize. It makes everything lag. So I guess we're going to do it without camera this morning, if that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have camera.
You don't have a picture of her up that we could put up?
I have a picture.
Okay.
And I also loaded a picture.
Okay. Cool. Heather, you're running as a Republican candidate for the governor for the state of Ohio, and good for you. We definitely need some change. They say Ohio is purple. I think it's got a little more blue in it than red. But we sure need some help here. Big time help. Educating the public. So give me your case, Heather Hill. Why should somebody from Ohio vote for Heather Hill?
Well, like you said, I'm not a politician. I am a regular, everyday wife, mother, Christian, entrepreneur, business owner. I'm a military mom. I am someone who understands what it's like to work hard every day and struggle. For the first time with Heather Hill in the State House, Ohio will have true representation. You know, we have been electing career politicians and out of touch billionaires, but with Heather Hill, we will have representation for just everyday, regular, Christian, conservative Americans.
As an executive recruiter, ex-executive recruiter, I always like to know what my candidate's background looks like. Where is Heather Hill coming from?
Well, I grew up in Appalachia, Ohio, graduated from Morgan High School. I put myself through college, starting at Columbus State Community College before earning my bachelor's degree from Ohio University.
Yay.
I worked at yeah, go Bobcats.
Yeah, my alma mater.
My husband also went to Ohio University. Our son went there. Our daughter is getting ready to graduate the first of next month. So we're all a family of Bobcats. I call them my baby Bobcats. But I worked at McDonald's for a couple years. I'm just a regular everyday person. I was elected to school board. I served as a school board president. I was also inducted into the Civil Rights Hall of Fame by Senator Jimmy Stewart. I worked on many, many, many Republican campaigns, like John Kasich's presidential campaign, Bernie Moreno, all three of President Trump's campaigns. I made for his last campaign, I made the It's Okay commercial to invite people of color to vote Republican and vote for President Trump and Bernie Moreno. It just a very strong background in conservative politics.
Coming into a political situation, Heather, there's there's a lot of obstacles in life.
Yes, there are.
And you sound like you've had several growing up, in between to where you are right now, and I sense the drive that's inside of you, and that regardless of the obstacles and where the wind's blowing, you're going to face to the right, and you're going to keep moving in that direction regardless of what comes your way. Is that a pretty good description where you're coming from?
That's a very good description. And one thing that I definitely want to let your listeners know, I was called into this race by the Lord. I had never thought about running for governor until people started asking me if I would consider it. And I started praying, and God said, "This is what I want you to do. And if you trust in me, you will be victorious in this." So every day I'm trusting God. I was the first to announce back in November of 2024. It's been a long, very difficult road. And let me tell you, most days I'm like, God, I don't know if I can do this, because I am literally out here fighting a battle with absolutely no support except for the Lord Jesus Christ and my husband. And it has been a battle. It's a battle to be heard. It's a battle to get media coverage. It's a battle every day, but God has opened up door after door after door, and we're down to the wire, and it's very apparent that I'm going to win this race.
Yeah.
So
have you seen any kind of figures in terms of okay.
No polling results. They're doing everything to keep me out of the polls, because once I speak to people, once they hear my voice and see and know what I stand for, and that I am a real Christian conservative that understands exactly what they're going through, people leave the room saying, I came in here supporting Vivek. I am leaving here telling you I'm going to vote for you 100%. So they've done everything they can to keep my voice from being heard.
Yeah, I've been very disappointed in the Republican Party, and I don't know whether that's what you're including in this, but I've been very disappointed in the Republican Party in terms of their campaigning, because there's a lot of negative coming that you expect the opposition, because they really don't have anything to stand on, to just criticize who you are and because you've done something, what you've done. And that's unfortunate, because it gets back to what I talked about in the beginning of the program today. We are so divided as a nation.
Yes,
and
we are.
We pick at one another all the time. And it's showing, and you can't emotions have now started to rule the conversations, not facts, not objectivity, but emotions.
Absolutely.
I feel this way, and because you don't feel that way, you hate me. It's not you disagree with me, it's you hate me. And no matter what I say, this is on both sides, folks.
Yes,
no matter what you say, I'm going to have an emotional response to it. And folks, what Satan seeks to destroy, he first corrupts. And part of that corruption is division. And one of the things I want to hear from Heather Hill is, how are you going to bring all these fighters together? What common goal? What common sense thing do you have to offer?
Well, I believe I believe I'm the only common sense candidate that we have running. I truly, truly believe that.
Okay.
Um, the way that I bring people together, because I've been in leadership for many, many years. And the way that I bring people together is just by unifying and reminding people every day that we are all on the same team. And that is the red, white, and blue team. That is America. And we need to fight together for our country as one. One thing that you notice with my opponents, they try very hard to split us. I am bringing everyone together. And that's why people believe 100% that I'm the only one that has the ability to beat Amy Acton. Because I can pull votes from both sides of the aisle. I have very relatable stories. I was a mother of 2 children that were shot and killed by law enforcement. You know, there's certain things that I bring to both sides of the aisle. And if people really take the time to look at my resume and look at what I have to offer, they support me. So, you know, we have to get in here and we have to fight and we have to remember the love of Jesus Christ. We have to remember that.
Yeah, they're trying to cover that up. They're trying to hide it.
Absolutely.
No,
They
actually,
are.
They're not hiding it. They're saying it's bad. It's go ahead.
And that's one thing my husband and I have talked about for the last almost 2 years that I've been doing this. I believe that God is going to use my story to prove that it doesn't matter who's coming against you. It doesn't matter what you're facing. If you trust in the Lord, He is still living, He is still here, and He is still lifting up His people. And I think that's what my campaign is going to be all about. That's what's going to happen when this little nobody from Appalachia, Ohio, with dyslexia, it comes in here and is able to win a race with very little financial backing, with no political party backing, with no support. Just her and her team are able to win this race. It's going to show God is still here and He is still in control. And that's how we're going to win this, and that's how we're going to bring people together. I'm not perfect by any means. I make mistakes every single day, and people are happy to point those mistakes out. But I believe that my story is going to move our Christian walk, our 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 love for Christ, move it forward and show people God is still in control of this country.
You're not perfect?
No, not even close.
Oh, Heather, how disappointing.
My husband will tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, spouses have a way.
Yeah.
And children, we're going to take a break here when we go back. I want to get a little more detail in terms of the you mentioned something about the police and a couple of children that you had, and I kind of want to go over, if you're willing to go over that a little bit.
Yes, definitely.
Because
this is one thing I tell people. There is absolutely nothing you cannot ask me. I am an open book. So if anything you want to ask me, ask away.
Okay, be careful with that. Be very careful with that. I'll have my spouse talk to you before you make that statement again.
Okay.
Mr. Heather Hill, running for governor of the state of Ohio. Mr. Anderson, can you take us to a break? And when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Heather Hill.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
And we were back with Heather here. I'm going to bring Norm in here so he doesn't fall asleep.
Hi, Norm.
Norm's one of our panelists.
Good to see you. God bless you, honey.
Thank you.
Yeah. Did you want to ask her about her kids, our BJ, or you want me to comment?
Yeah, I brought that up, and then you can make a comment. Or, yeah, Heather, you mentioned that there was a bad experience with. Heather, I'm of the mind that in America we are an amoral and unjust nation, and we had a J6er on earlier today, and I can give you personal experiences with run-ins with the law, not necessarily with myself, but in a family situation. We've talked a lot about Christ, and we talked a lot about Christianity. Maybe one of the other things I'm going to talk about too is church support for candidates like Heather Hill. I mean, what kind of support do you get? So you can go to the situation with the police and your children, or you can talk about the other item, if you will. Go ahead, Heather.
Well, just to tell you a little background, I've had over 50 foster children that have come through my home.
Woo.
My husband and I have been married for 32 years, and we've had one live birth. That's our son, Darian, who was active duty military. His contract just ended last week with the United States Army. But two of my foster kids, Donovan was shot and killed by law enforcement. And then almost exactly a year later, Takaya, who was 7 months pregnant, was shot and killed by law enforcement.
Good God.
At that time, when Donovan was shot, my friends in law enforcement started contacting me, asking me if I would consider running. And like I said, I was just, I told them I'd never thought about running for governor. That wasn't something that I wanted to do. You know, my husband and I were planning on taking time to Hill and traveling. We had bought an RV. And then almost exactly a year later, and people started asking me again, because a lot of our law enforcement officers were being faced with being called racist and that sort of things. And I stepped out and I said, I don't believe that this had anything to do with race. I believe that it has to do with law enforcement needing more training to deal with the situations that they're facing with mental illness, with opioids and drug addictions, those sort of things. Because because I spoke to law enforcement officers, and that's what they told me that they felt like they needed. So, you know, that's how I was introduced into this race. And
Okay,
like I said, it was much prayer and consideration, and I felt like God said, this is where I want you. And and let me tell you, he has led the way, because there's no way I could have gotten this far by myself. People are always standing back saying, who is helping her? How does she know how to do this? It is literally the Lord himself, because I don't know anything about this. I've never ran a major campaign. So that's what happened with our foster children. Now, what was your second question? I apologize.
I forget. I'm gonna let Norm get in here. Go ahead, Norm.
Okay. Well, if it's okay, I'm gonna call you Sister Heather, since we're brother and sister in Christ.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, my wife and I were also foster parents, and I used to train foster parents and adoptive parents, and we adopted a couple of boys. But anyway, Sister, one of the things I've been working on for 4 or 5 years is a spiritual plan for America. And, you know, from President Trump to most Christians keep saying over and over, we need to get back to God. And if you remember when President Trump was running for re-election, every time he made that statement at rallies, the crowd just cheered.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally convinced that the American people are ready and hungry for some spiritual answers, because they know deep down that God has the answers. And my spiritual plan is very simple. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. When issues or legislation comes up, ask one question. What does God say about this?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I've got a lot of verses. I've made several videos about this. You know, God addresses the military. He addresses the education system, the economic system, the fiscal policy for government, the justice system. And just I made this comment a few days ago. If we had to follow just one of the instructions that God gave government, and I believe that the instructions that God gave his chosen people, Israel, is also good for America. He said, you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow. And, that's God understood when you start borrowing, and the nature of politicians are going to start abusing it to try to buy votes. But if we had followed that one guideline, we would not be paying $3 billion a day in interest. But God has a lot to say, and so again, I think if we could get President Trump and some leaders to begin to say, what does God say about this, and then use the scripture to back it up. And I think that does two or three things. First, it gets God involved in the process. When we're saying, God, we acknowledge you, we need you in this process. But I think one of the big things that it does, it begins to educate the American people what God has to say about how government should operate. And when we do that, the media has got to be all over that. And then, you can begin to show the scriptures of what God says. And of course, the other side's going to find their PhD theologians that says, no, the Bible doesn't say anything about government, but it does. And I think,
can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We hear you. So that's my spiritual plan. What does God say about it? And then go with it, then follow it. And again, it's going to educate the American people what God has to say about government. Any thoughts on that, ma'am?
For some reason, I can no longer hear you if you can hear me.
Yeah,
Heather,
we can hear you okay. Another spiritual battle here.
Yeah, we've had those this morning.
We have.
And it sounds like Heather would be definitely on board with what you're talking about, Mr. Anderson. I don't know whether I can text her and tell her to go out and back in. Maybe she just did that. Heather, are you with us?
Hello?
Yeah, Heather, are you with us?
Yes, I only heard a short amount of what you were saying. For some reason, the sound completely went out.
Okay.
Just briefly, yeah, please.
Yeah, I have a spiritual plan is to ask one question when issues or legislation comes up. What does God say about this? And then go to the scriptures to show what God says about it, about our military, about education, justice, and all that. And again, it begins to educate the American people that God does have something to do with how government should operate.
Absolutely. I believe that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead.
I've said for a long time, I think the two biggest victories the devil's had in America is separation of church and state, and then going to a two-party political system, to divide us. But if we're going to save this nation, we're going to have to get back to following the instructions God gave us. It's great for people to go back to church, and I'm all for that if they can find a good church. That's getting harder and harder to do. But I think for a lot of people, going back to church is kind of like the alcoholic saying, okay, I'll go to AA, but I'm going to keep drinking. They'll go back to church, but they won't keep doing what they've been doing, So,
well, I kind of disagree with you on that. I completely support separation of church and state.
Okay.
And this is why. What happens when we elect a left-leaning liberal supporter of transgender ideologies? Then we have to have our children subjected to their ideologies, their way of life. I don't want that. I would rather church and state be completely separated, and when When we have our children at home, we are able to educate them. And when they are in schools, it is a neutral environment where no one is going to be trying to teach my kids about their religion, their ideologies. They are going to completely be a neutral area in our school systems, because what's going to happen, like what's happening now, we we very well, if we elect Vivek Ramaswamy as governor, he will lose in the general election to Amy Acton. That means we will have a liberal Democrat governor. So if that happens, do we trust her ideologies to be taught to our kids? No.
What?
And if
Yeah,
we open that door, anybody can walk through it.
but they're already teaching us. They're already teaching their kids. So what's going to be the difference?
Well, the difference is we're going to make sure that schools are a neutral ground. We're going to make sure that when a child is in school, you teach them reading, writing, math, and how to be productive parts of society. No one is going to have the ability to come into our schools and teach their ideologies to our students. And that's the way it should be. That is the way it should be.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. I was asked one time, would you like to see the Bible taught in schools again? I said, absolutely not. I said, who's going to teach it?
That's
So
right.
no, I agree with that about your schools, but I believe strongly that God has a lot to say about how government should operate. And those are the things that we need to follow, follow God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to elect leaders that are godly leaders,
Right.
but we need to remember that ungodly leaders will be elected also. So
Absolutely.
we need to always protect our children, because if we lose our children, what good is any of this?
Right. Yeah, I don't think we're in disagreement over our issue here.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. And just to follow up a little bit, I mean, I've gone to, and you've been in that business, but I've gone to school. I went to school board meetings for 10 years, and what I saw, here's what our schools teach. They teach that life has no meaning. They teach evolution as fact.
Absolutely. You're right.
That morals are relative, multiculturalism, diversity. That man, not God, is the measure of all things.
Mm-hmm.
And that the state is your daddy. And they do this by making every child that comes into their fold a victim. And how do we get away from that? There's people that will defend that, Heather, to the death.
That's right.
And how do we turn that around? What vehicle? Government is a powerful institution, but as is the family, as is the church. The three that God established for the benefit of man: family first, church, and then state.
Well,
Those
the way that I'm going to get away from this is, first off, I am going to penalize anybody that comes into our schools and teaches their ideologies. Anybody that comes in and tries to brainwash our children. The second way, we are going to give parents back control of medical freedom, of educational choice. We are going to let parents back in the classrooms. You know, a lot of these schools don't even want parents in the classrooms. When I was raising my children, I was in the classrooms, in the sports, in band. I was the mother that was in every single thing, making sure that I knew what was happening with my children, making sure they were not groomed. We need to open that back up. And also, by giving parents educational choice, for the first time, our school systems have they have competition. When we have competition, that's what makes us better. When they know that a parent can take their child and homeschool them, put them in private school, whatever they choose, if the public schools are not meeting the needs of that child. And it will be up to the parents. Under my watch, parents will be respected. And that's what's going to change. Nobody cares more about a child than their parents. But for some reason, the school system thinks when that child steps in that door, I'm their daddy. They belong to me. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. You are there to educate them. That is it. You are not there to teach them your ideologies, to make sure that they're woke, to make sure all of this crap that's happening. That is not the job of the educational system. And they need to be held accountable for that.
Mr. Anderson, you want to take us to break, or do you have a comment you want to make before you do that as an ex-teacher?
Well, for one, you'll be dealing with the Teachers Association, which is a very powerful organization. Unfortunately, I don't agree with it. I believe it's a communist organization, and it's I don't know, brainwash the teachers with their ideology. But that will be a battle when you try to control and fire teachers. So that's a big one. I'm not saying you can't do it. Praise the Lord if you can. Church and state, that's another big issue. I'm watching this battle with the Pope now, between the president and the Pope, and that brings up an interesting issue about the church being involved with the politics, which is something that we discuss a lot.
Can I jump in there real quick? Not trying to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Heather.
But we're not going to fire their teachers. We're not going to fire their teachers. You want to keep your teachers all in there that are teaching Satan's agenda? Allow them. Allow them. They want to keep those teachers, allow them. But we're going to give the control to the parents on where their children are educated and where the tax dollars to educate that child go. And that is going to make them wake up and realize parents are no longer going to tolerate the crap that they're pulling in our public schools.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. That's a good start. Having I don't know, free choice of where you go to school. I don't know if you know the problems involved with that either, but yeah, the parents ought to have a free choice, and schools ought to be competitive.
Yeah, I hear them complain.
A location has a lot to do with it, parents being able to get their kids to the school of their choice and so forth, all of that stuff. Yeah, the money follows the student. Those are all competitive aspects of what you're talking about. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I see the problems.
Yeah. I mean, there's problems with every situation. But we have to fight. We have to do something. We cannot allow this to continue the way it is. But
amen. Go ahead.
But you were talking about the situation with President Trump and the Pope.
Well, yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing. The Pope made a statement, and then the politician steps in and basically says, "Be quiet." Who's crossing the line there is probably the question. Then J.D. Vance steps in. You've probably heard his comments about telling a pope that he has to be careful with his theology. Okay, he's 6 years in the Catholic Church, and he knows more about theology than the Pope. I mean, we all have to be careful, right? When we speak for the Lord, so to speak. That's something that we always have to be careful with. I'm not really sure where the line of church and state. Um, I think they go together, personally, and most nations in the world have a religion. You have Islamic or Judaism, or you have Christianity, basically, or you have Hinduism,
Hinduism, yeah.
which you have Buddhism, what's China. Each country has a religion that they adhere to. Sometimes they have other religions living peacefully with other people who have other beliefs, but the majority of the people have a chosen religion. This country, we believe, is a Christian nation. We are
Absolutely.
founded on these Christian values and principles, whether you call it church or whether you call it faith. It's something that we adhere to, and we base our laws on that. We don't want Sharia law in our country. We don't want some of these Hindu ideas that I think Ramaswamy would bring in. I don't know. I don't want these foreign ideas introduced into our country.
Absolutely. I agree with you. We are a Christian nation. We
And
are a Christian nation, and some people get angry when I say that. And that's why I'm so disappointed in the Christian organizations that are embracing Ramaswamy when
Mhm.
he is a Hindu, when you have a true Christian conservative that is running for governor and they don't even invite me to their Christian events. They want Ramaswamy to speak. And I'm like, what is happening here? We're getting ready to replace our lieutenant governor, and the gentleman that is coming in is a Catholic. His brother is a priest. He is active duty military. Um, we have to stand up and we have to elect people that have our same Christian morals and values, because we are a Christian nation. Our nation was built on Christian values, and that is why we have been so successful, because we have had
yes,
God moving in our country. People want to forget that.
well,
There's a reason.
they're afraid of a church and a church setting rules, and that's not what we are. We're not ruled by a church. We're ruled by a faith. There's a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
And as BJ had said earlier, we are an unjust, immoral, amoral society, and the key is getting that morality. Let's go back to the schools again. Teaching right and wrong. Some of them are absolute. We can't teach right and wrong as relative. There are some absolute rights and absolute wrongs, and that comes with our Christian values.
Absolutely. You're correct.
Jesus is the head of the church, and he's also
Absolutely.
the head of government. He's
That's
the head of
right.
everything.
That's
He's the head
right.
of everything. And I just for clarification, do we need to take a quick break, Mr. Anderson, or do you want to do it? This is B.J. Edwards
Yeah.
along with Mr. Anderson. Go ahead.
I'll give you 2 minutes, then I'll do a break.
Okay. First
A
of all,
funny one.
money is the power to make decisions. That's very important. And you could be scratching your head or going, yeah. What that means is that the more money you have, the more decisions you can make. The less money you have, the less decisions you can make. Money is the power to make decisions. Think about it.
That's true. That is true.
And if you give a government or an individual that you disagree with more money, what does that do to you? You're taking
There's,
decision-making power out of your hands.
that's
and
right. You're giving them the
somebody else.
power.
Yeah. Yeah. And what we've done in our government-run schools, public schools, is that we've given the schools a blank check.
You're so right.
you say, well, okay, there's levies. There's levies. We have a choice in the levies. BS, folks. Okay, here's what happens. If that levy goes down, then the school changes and does things and adjusts to it, right? No, they don't. They put another levy on within a year of that last one that you put down. They usually do it like in a May and an off November election. But they're going to keep coming at you until you give them what they want. And they can do it all at once, which is they normally ask for, and then come back for what they need plus. They're still getting more than they need. And yeah, I hear you, teachers. No, never. Yes. I mean, you have anyway, they have an unlimited supply of money, and they can get more anytime they want by just asking. Okay, go ahead. Here it is. And I like the idea of a parent-centered educational environment, which means the parent can choose. You have, I don't know how you do this. First of all, we don't know how to do this because we haven't done it. Necessity is the mother of invention. We're talking about getting rid of property taxes. Okay, we get rid of property taxes. How are we going to possibly run what we're doing now, these wonderful schools, without the property taxes? First of all, you have to, if you know that you're still going to get those property taxes, then you don't have to answer the question. If you know that you're not going to get it, then you start answering the question.
That's right.
You're right. Again, necessity is the mother of invention. And until you have to, and Heather, I know from just talking with you, there's been situations in your life where you've just had to do things because that money wasn't there, or the support wasn't there, or this was hard here or hard there. That is an opportunity for you to learn, for starters, but also gain confidence in yourself, which I sense in our conversation with you, Heather, and I love that. There's nothing you can't do, right? It's just,
that's right.
Give me enough time, I can get this done.
That's what my grandmother always told me. And I didn't believe anything else growing up, but I believed her, and I believed that.
That means so much. That support from loved ones, from family members, so much of that is missing. The last figures I saw, I think 48% of children in Ohio are not living with their biological mother and father. A child needs
stability.
Yeah.
And family.
Yeah. Well, you belong.
That's right.
You belong. This is your biological mother and biological father. You belong there. And wait a minute, one of them doesn't like you, or one of them has left. Leaving's a vacuum. They don't like you is a hurt.
Yes, it is, that they will never overcome. You're right.
You walk the rest of your life with a limp.
Absolutely.
I'm speaking a bit from experience, Heather. So, but I can sense it in the conversations with you. All right, Mr. Anderson, take us to break, and we'll get back with Heather Hill. I want to. Who's your lieutenant governor candidate running with you? Who is that? Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Okay.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we are back, I guess.
One thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, if it's okay, is one part of my platform is CPS overreach. We're going to handle CPS reform as part of my time in the State House as your next governor. I am speaking to parents every single day that CPS has come into their homes and removed their children for no reason at all. I mean, there is so much CPS overreach. I spoke to a father the other night who has really just took his situation and ran with it and is blessing so many other families with what he went through and what he has learned along the way. CPS came in and took his children over an allegation when the allegation was finally proven to be incorrect. They just dropped his kids off, never apologized, never did anything. Just here's your kids back, goodbye. There are so many Christian conservative parents that are being targeted. It's just crazy. It is so crazy the way that things are being done and the way they are using our children as a way to control us. If you don't believe in transgender ideologies,
Mhm.
if you if you decide that you want to live in the country and feed your children raw milk, or you may be on well water or different situations, they're coming in and telling us that we are not good enough, that they're going to take our children and put them into a corrupt system. It's horrible. And like I told you earlier, I have been on the other side of this. I have had over 50 foster children come through my home, but running for governor has been an eye-opening experience. I open up my phone lines every single night until midnight, and I speak to voters. I give them half-hour increments. All day I campaign and do my interviews, and at night I speak to voters. And these parents are, I mean, it's terrible what they're going through. And they're targeting children that are easy to place, easy to adopt. They're targeting children that also have disabilities because they receive the most money for those children. It's it, it's literally a corrupt system, and something has to be done with CPS, and it has to be done quickly, because when they destroy the family, when they
Mhm.
take the father out of the home, the head
Yep.
of our homes, our fathers, when they do all of that stuff, they are completely changing the trajectory of our children, just like what you were just saying.
Yes. Yeah. That's an excellent, excellent point.
Amen. And public schools, by the way, are a service arm of CPS, Child
Yes.
Protective Services.
You are right. You're right about that.
Yep.
Teachers are instructed to report anything, that and sometimes, they misunderstand what the kid is going through, and that gets reported, and you get a big basket of trouble as a result.
There was a parent the other day who lives on a farm. Um, they have a water hose that they spray the children with and allow them to run through and just play. Those teachers reported that that family didn't have running water and their children had to shower outside.
Oh, God.
I mean,
we shouldn't laugh at this. I'm sorry. We should not laugh at this.
it's one thing after the other. My minor in college was deaf studies and American Sign. I have a very special place in my heart for deaf culture. There are so many deaf parents that CPS comes in and removes their children because they believe that because they're deaf, they cannot raise hearing children. I'm like, what are you talking about? Deaf families have been raising hearing children for as long
Mhm.
as we can remember. I mean, this is not this is nothing to take a child out of a loving home just because a family happens to be deaf. I mean, there are so many stories. I mean, literally, that is the majority of the calls that I get is about CPS and their overreach. I could do a 2-hour show just on CPS.
I did not know we were going to go CPS, but I'm so glad you did, because that is
Amen.
huge. That is huge. Contact information. Folks want to help you out. Where do they go?
FightLikeHill.com. I am the only gubernatorial candidate that gives out my private cell phone number. It's on the bottom of the screen. But please, we need volunteers. We need donations. We need your vote. Please, please, if you can help us out in any way, Go to fightlikehill.com. Make sure you share any and everything of ours on social media, all over social media, because there's a lot of people that are still saying they don't know my name. So we have to get the word out there. When we have true Christian conservative grassroots candidates, it's our job to embrace those candidates, because if we don't, we're going to have more of what we're going through right now. So we have to fight together. And if you see on the screen, that's a picture of my team. You know, you're not just electing Heather Hill, you're electing a team of true Christian conservatives that are going to fight hard every day for you.
In 5 minutes, can you discuss a little bit your lieutenant governor candidate?
Well, we're getting ready to switch our lieutenant governor candidate. And I really can't say more than that until we actually get everything done. But we'll do a press release and everything like that. Great guy that we're selecting, Christian, father of a large family, military. He's everything that we need in Ohio. So I'm excited when we get a chance to actually release that and move forward. But
Okay. I did not know that, Heather. I am stunned by your views on CPS. I mean, I love them. I did not expect that. And listen, in a
That's
society,
a big one.
yeah,
That's a big one.
This we need to have a child-centered society, folks.
yes, we do.
Not an adult's needs or desires or wants. Oh, what the child, if you get married and you have children, you have responsibilities, and in order to fulfill those responsibilities, you need to pay attention to what the child needs. That's where your research needs to be on. That's what your focus needs to be on. That child needs their mother and their father, desperately needs them. That's inherited. When we're born with that need for a male father parent and a female mother parent. Okay?
Absolutely.
And both supply a different aspect and fill a need in that child. And we've just, again, it's about that Uber America where we just have to snap our fingers and, hey, it's at our door. That's not really good. That's not, again, Heather could attest to that because, and what I said earlier today, that BJism, you know, when I win, I don't learn a whole lot, but when I lose, boy, I learn a ton. And that takes off the rough edges, does it not, Heather?
You're absolutely right. You're right.
I love it. We're going to have to get out of here shortly. Anything you want to leave with our audience that we haven't discussed already?
Again, I want to encourage anybody that has questions, shoot me a text message, give me a call. Let's talk, because I believe 100% you need to be informed of who you're voting for. But please get out and vote on or before May 5th. If you would like to volunteer, if you would like to make a donation, it doesn't matter what size donation. We're a grassroots campaign. Go to fightlikehill.com and let's do this together. Let's take back our state. Let's make this the best place that it can be for our children and grandchildren. And thank you both for having me on your show and giving me a voice. God bless you both.
It's been definitely a pleasure, Heather.
Thank you.
Surprise.
Thank you for taking a break from your phone calls so you can spend time with us.
Well, thank you for having me. I
We
appreciate it.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Heather. Heather Hill, candidate for governor, state of Ohio. May primary. She'll be facing Vivek and Mr. Push. Kevin, I was just bowled over by the CPS. I keep talking about that, but it's child, and what the CPS is doing to children, how they're alienating them from their parents. I mean, that's child abuse for starters. Go ahead, Norm. Go ahead.
That's one of the big problems in America today is the government taking charge of parents' children.
And maybe that's one of the reasons that Ohio is so reluctant to pass that natural family month, which is child-centered parenting, biblical-centered parenting, what some people might call the nuclear family, as long as you describe it as that one biological born man and woman in a lifelong committed monogamous relationship. We haven't even talked about those after aspects, which do affect children, in a lifelong committed monogamous relationship. My goodness.
But we got to be careful not to put the children in charge, but to put them in a position where they learn, and that, yeah, your
that's
attention,
that's
your
part
attention
of
belongs to the child.
Yep. Norm, real quick, and then we got to get out of here.
Well, everything that God is for is under attack.
Yes,
yes. And it just speaks again of this spiritual battle that we're in. I've talked a lot about, every person on planet Earth has a spiritual father, and it's either the Lord Jesus or it's the devil. And the devil is very aware of God's plan and God's word, and our spiritual father can speak to us, and he's speaking to people that listen, and that's where we're at. And again, it's spiritual, and it's gonna intensify. It has been getting more and more intense over the last few years. There was a time, I think maybe 20 years ago, it was hard to tell which side people were on, but that's become very, very clear. Where people are at. So anyway, we're going to have to study our Bibles, develop a relationship with the Lord for our discernment, so we know what's good and what's not.
Yep.
God bless America.
And folks, it's not going to be easy.
Nope.
When it comes to clarity, pain is a universal solvent, folks. It will teach you. You have to get into this battle. You have to. Because if you don't, the battle's going to come to you, and you're not going to have your stocked up whatever you need to fight the enemy. You're just not going to, because they'll once they get into your home, and that's where they're going to come, then it's game, set, and match. It's over with. And that home is the children. That home is the marriages. Look at where we're headed, to the 1984 Brave New World. We can create children without sex. Technologically, we can create children without sex, which puts us in that Brave New World category, where we just take something from one individual, something from another, put it together, and they never know who those individuals are.
Now we're talking about the technology, which is something I didn't ask Heather about, but the idea of these data centers and the controversy with those. There's a lot of things. But we're going to run out of here, and we're going to run with a little humor, and we'll see you all next Saturday.
Yep.
Same time, same station.
Thank you all.
Why doesn't this bird just fly away from a coyote? Instead, it runs on two legs. The answer is simple. It doesn't need to. This isn't just any bird. It inspired the Road Runner. It's called the Greater Roadrunner. One of the fastest birds, reaching up to 45 kilometers per hour. When a coyote chases it, it keeps its distance, then suddenly changes direction. When the coyote gets close, it runs even faster. Sometimes, it moves right in front of it, like it's teasing it, because it knows the coyote has almost no chance of catching it. Why does
Join us next week for Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Good show.
Yeah, that was a surprise with Heather.